Welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate, and I'm now glad to be joined by Lafourche Parish President Archie Chaisson. Thank you very much for joining us. We certainly appreciate you making the time for us.
Yeah, Jacob, good to see you again.
All right, if we can get a quick update on where we are in Lafourche regarding the latest COVID information and COVID numbers out there.
Yeah, just like we're seeing everywhere, I think across the country, we're seeing an uptake again. Luckily, it seems that this Omicron variant is much less significant than the other ones. Which, when you talk to some medical professionals, some of them think that that's actually a good thing, right? That we're getting really into the herd immunity. A lot of people are getting it, but it's not as severe. We're not seeing the number of hospitalizations I think we saw with the other ones. Although we see case counts rising. It doesn't seem the intensity of it is there, which is a good thing. I think we've seen our percentages rise significantly here in Lafourche, but as we test more people, as this thing becomes more prevalent again, we fully expected to see that. I think we're pretty close to the peak. Hopefully, as we go into Carnival season, I think everybody fully expected a rise after Christmas, knowing that people were getting together, people were traveling. Things were bound to happen. So hopefully we're seeing that downward trend before we get into Mardi Gras and Carnival season, and for us as we get into the spring fair and festival season, and of course graduation time and all that fun stuff as kids are finishing up the school year as we get closer to the summer. So overall, I think we're where everybody else is. I don't expect to be any better or any worse than some of our surrounding parishes and what we're seeing in the state. It's just something that again, like we've said all along, that we're going to have to grapple with. We're going to have these surges. We're going to have these mutations. And I saw an interesting kind of comment on Facebook that it's been, I think, 700 days since the pandemic. At this point, we've all been infected at some point, right? Or pretty close to it, whether you've been vaccinated or not. So it's something that, again, I think we're just going to have to grapple with and something that we're going to have to live with the rest of our lives, unfortunately. And how we do that, how we keep the economy up and running, how do we keep kids in school, how do we keep things happening in our community is what we grapple with day to day as leaders. And whether it's here in parish government, whether it's our school system and our school board superintendent and the school board itself, we're going to continue to work down those roads together. In any way we can assist each other, we can. Whether it's opening up testing opportunities like we're doing right now at our public health unit, whether it's working with the hospital systems in Lafourche, in Thibodaux, St. Anne, and Lady to See, having testing opportunities there. Whether you're symptomatic and you're trying to figure out whether you're positive, or whether on your 5th day of quarantine now that the CDC says you have to do, and you need that negative test to go back to work or go back to school, having those opportunities to get people back to life as normal is what we're focusing on right now, and just keeping that steady pace and knowing that we're going to get through this at some point with this particular surge, and that probably 4 or 5 months down the line, this thing's going to mutate again, and we're going to have to do this all over again. But we're gonna keep a positive attitude about it and just kind of keep rolling with the punches.
Sure, kind of the new normal. And you mentioned one thing, Carnival season. That of course some people that they look forward to that all year. Some people it's the most important thing to them all year. Where are we still planning on no intentions of shutting it down, letting it roll, or?
Yeah, we actually tonight at 6 o'clock we're meeting with the sheriff's office, our local police departments, and the crews that are planning on rolling. We do have most of the down the bayou crews. The crews from La Rose on down through Golden Meadow are not going to roll this year. They took some significant damage to their facilities that house their floats and their floats themselves. And in a couple of these parades, a lot of it are family floats. So those families are concentrating on putting their houses back together and repairing storm damage. So rebuilding a float is not a huge priority for them right now. So I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of the down the bayou crews roll, but City of Thibodaux is ready to roll with their 5 parades, as well as the crew of Shoepick, the crew of Gaines, and the crew of Apollo down in Lockport. So we're going to meet with those folks tonight, finish lining out the final preparations for traffic control and stuff like that with the sheriff's office and the local PDs. But I fully expect to have Mardi Gras this year. I think we've seen a 2-year hiatus of it, and it's time again to get back to normal and give people something to look forward to. And whether you're a rider or a spectator, I think we're going to have a great Carnival season this year, and I think it's something that we can do safely. I don't fully anticipate any restrictions to it in any way, shape, or form. In talking with the mayors and the sheriff, so it's something to look forward to in the coming weeks. I think the first parades start to roll between Lafourche and Terrebonne toward the end of January, and then we go all the way through Carnival itself. So it's going to be an exciting time as we start to see those floats roll through the streets again.
Sure. Now, as far as government buildings and I guess not only for COVID, but also for Hurricane Ida. Do you have any closures or any modifications that you're doing for protocol reasons?
Yeah, so the only real big closure we have still is the Galliano government complex in South Lafourche. That building was completely or is in the process of being completely gutted. We lost that roof during the hurricane, as well as the Galliano Health Unit. That building took some significant damage through the storm, so those two buildings are still closed. But all of our other government centers, the one here in Matthews, the one in Thibodaux, our health unit up in Thibodaux, as well as most of our libraries, with the exception of South Lafourche, are up and running. We don't have any restrictions due to COVID. If you do visit our Matthews complex, which is also a disaster recovery center for FEMA, if you visit the FEMA end of the building, they are requiring, as the federal mandate says, they have to wear masks. They do require you to wear a mask when interacting with the FEMA personnel. But other than that, we don't have any restrictions. We have a huge amount of people coming in to do permits right now as we continue to rebuild from the storm. A huge influx to our community action department as people are looking for assistance, not only because of the economy, but because of the storm itself. So we're fully up and operational and up and running.
We're talking a little bit about the impacts of Hurricane Ida, a continuing discussion that I'm sure, unfortunately, is going to take a long time to go on. One of the things that people, have had problems with in the past still is dealing with housing. Can you tell us where the situation is on that regards to getting people some shelter?
Yeah, Jacob, like you mentioned, I think we're going to be dealing with the effects of the storm for a lot of years, and it still consumes a lot of what we do here day to day. But housing, the housing program was very sluggish in the beginning. I will still say for somewhat slow. But between the state's program that's being run by APTM and the FEMA program itself, we have somewhere about 1,000 units on the ground, which is really good. We finally broke through that barrier, I think, between Christmas and New Year's, where we finally started to see a whole bunch of influx of units coming in. Still a long way to go. We had originally had a planning number of somewhere between 2,800 and 3,000. So there's still, in theory, about 2,000 left to go. The number of, especially on the FEMA side, the people who are qualifying for sheltering assistance continues to go up. I think somewhere between 2 and 4 people every day. So we still have a huge need out there. It's still interesting to see that 5 months out past the storm, we still have people who are just now registering for individual assistance, people who are just now realizing they can, or they're just not qualifying. We're still seeing, somewhere between 50 and 60 people a day at our disaster recovery centers, both here in Matthews and the one in Golden Meadow. Although those numbers dwindle a little bit, or are dwindling a little bit, those two places are still open. I think we'll see them open through probably the month of February. But that time to actually get in here and process that paperwork is waning. FEMA's unfortunately not going to be here forever in those capacities, having physical people on the ground. So if you do still need assistance with housing or something like that, now's the time to visit one of those disaster recovery centers. Again, here still at our Matthews Government Complex, or at the Galliano Government Complex, we have a big air-conditioned tent set up in the parking lot out there that you can get housing assistance. The options for if you purchased a generator or a chainsaw to get that money back, as well as sheltering assistance. If you still need, you're still renting or you need to find a place to rent, if you still want to be in a hotel, or unfortunately if you still need housing assistance, and actually trying to get that FEMA unit or that state unit in there. That seems to consume a lot of our day, is working through some of these housing issues with, it's been a couple of weeks since somebody visited their property and marked out where the trailer was going to go. What's the next step? So we have a dedicated crew of housing people here with us, embedded still, who work through with us that every day. So if you are still facing issues with the housing, we ask that you call our Emergency Operations Center and kind of give us your name and your address. You have your FEMA registration number, that still helps. We'll try to track down where that backlog is and try to get it moving for you again. Sometimes it's a contractor, sometimes it's waiting on the power company to energize that unit. Sometimes it could be something weird, like they're waiting for proof that you actually have the ability to put that unit where you say it is. Because unfortunately, we've had a couple issues with squatters where they've claimed a piece of property that, believe it or not, wasn't theirs, and a FEMA unit shows up, and then the real property owner shows up and trying to figure out why they have a FEMA trailer on their lot. So we kind of work through those issues day to day with FEMA. Debris pickup continues for us as well. Our contractors took a little break during Christmas, but they're back. Again, that time frame for that debris pickup is waning as well. I think we're going to be at it probably up until Easter. Our contractors think they're going to make a pretty significant push in the next 30 days, and we might be pretty close to being done. But we're going to, next week, really nail down and drill down some dates so we can start to advertise those dates to the public. especially in North Lafourche, where a lot of debris has been picked up. There's not a whole lot left. What those final dates for pickup are going to be, so that you can be aware. Don't want anybody caught where, all of a sudden their insurance finally paid out and they have to gut their home, and we're not doing debris pickup anymore, and they're left with a huge pile of trash or a dumpster bill. But still cautioning people that if you are in that situation and you have a contractor who's going to be doing that gutting for you, or going to be doing some remodeling or sort of rebuilding on your house, that contractor is responsible for having a dumpster there and for hauling that trash away. That's not something that can be brought to the road and the parish is going to pick up. The insurance is fully expecting you to have a contractor, and that contractor haul that stuff away, and there's a payment in your insurance claim for that. So be cognizant of that as we move forward, especially as those finite dates come. But other than that, we're working through kind of the repair and the rebuild process. We have about $44 million in pump station damage that we're working through right now. We have about $35 million in building damage. If you could see the ceiling above me in my office, you'll see half the ceiling tiles are missing because the roof leaked and it got wet. So it's those kind of processes we're working through with the council, hiring those architects and engineers to get those projects going. We have a FEMA public assistant consultant that we brought on board that's helping us write those project worksheets and get those projects obligated. Our main hope is to have a lot of the buildings done by the end of this year. Our biggest struggle really, especially on the infrastructure side, when we look at pump stations and rebuilding the pump stations that were damaged, is that we're doing our best to build back better. And I know that's a term that President Biden uses a lot in a political realm, and it's a shame that he took that saying, because now it's hard to say sometimes. But we're looking at how do we rebuild these pump stations in a much better fashion that we don't run into the issues we had again. We have a lot of old timber pile and timber deck supported pump stations, going back with concrete, going back with newer, bigger pumps so we can pump more water faster and reduce the risk of flooding, not only during, tropical events, but just the average everyday summer rainfall that we seem to be getting these days. So looking at how do we invest in the future and really take the opportunity that this storm has brought to get some FEMA dollars and really build back these pump stations in a much more bigger fashion. But when you look at that, when you look at a new pump and engine for a pump station, the lead time on that, because of supply chain issues, employee shortages, and COVID that we're seeing nationwide, is somewhere about 35 weeks. So, the ability to have these pump stations up and running for the height of next hurricane season, we're pushing those triggers pretty close. So we're hoping to move some of these projects pretty quick so that we're in a good position, or in a much better position for next hurricane season and the rainfalls that we're going to get next summer than we are today. And it's something that we're committed to. I know that Dylan Baroni, our Public Works Director, works hard on that every day with the engineers, trying to push those schedules, trying to push FEMA to approve a lot of this stuff so that we can get that stuff up and running.
Well, we certainly appreciate all the hard work you and your staff and administration are doing to make sure that the citizens of Lafourche are in that better position than they are right now when the hurricane season comes around.
Yeah, we have a great team of employees, Jacob, and I can't stress that enough. The men and women we have every day, from permitting to our field office staff to everybody in between, is really doing a bang-up job to help put this place back together and keep our residents in a good spot.
All right. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for more right here on HTV.